a 7-step guide to launching new propositions through your sales force, taken from the white paper by Mark Abel, Head of International Development at Impata. The tensions between sales and marketing departments are evident in many organisations. That these tensions exist is not surprising, as the departments rely on each other for their success and compete for budget. There is often a choice between more salespeople or more marketing spend. Because of this interdependency, they often blame each other for failures. During good economic times, when marketing are asking the sales teams to sell a consistent product line, featuring the occasional add-on or refinement, companies have learned to live with this tension. However, when the economy turns or a company decides to innovate and sell new propositions to existing or new customers, the disconnect between the two departments can become damaging and expensive. Salespeople often feel under more pressure or are outside of their comfort zone and need much more support and direction from marketing. But the processes and culture are often not in place to provide or understand what support is required. Symptoms of this dysfunction include 1. Salespeople failing to find early customers for the new proposition and reverting to selling what they are used to and comfortable with. 2. A resistance among salespeople to introduce the new proposition to their best customers, accompanied by excuses as to why it's not possible or appropriate to sell it to these customers. 3. Inconsistency in sales approach, leading to highly variable success rates. 4. Meetings between sales and marketing focusing on blame rather than problem solving and customer feedback. 5. Marketing changing the 4 Ps, product, price, promotion and place, in an attempt to find a magic solution that will increase sales. Where price is changed, this normally leads to an erosion of margins. 6. Confused customers with a growing sense that the company does not understand their needs. The result? Fewer sales, longer sales cycles, lower margins, dissatisfied customers, and a fractious relationship between two key departments. This podcast provides 7 practical ideas around how, with sensible planning and well-targeted investment, this scenario can be avoided. Accompanying this podcast is a brief diagnostic tool to help you assess how well aligned your sales and marketing departments are when it comes to the launch of new B2B propositions. Proposition development. Step 1. Build a cross-functional team. Salespeople need to be involved in the earliest stages of the development of new propositions. A proposition team should be brought together that includes at least 2 salespeople with deep experience of the target customers and credibility within the sales force. If appropriate, representatives from channel sales and customer services can also be included, as well as a member of the team tasked with training the sales channels in the new proposition. This team then plays a critical alignment role throughout the development and launch of the proposition by ensuring that A. The insight behind the proposition is sharp and resonates with the sales channels and the customers. B. The customer's buying cycle is properly considered in the positioning of the proposition, and that there are strategies in place to accelerate customers through the cycle. C. A thorough training and communications plan is developed, providing the sales team with all the information and support they need to tailor the proposition to each of their targets as efficiently as possible. D. A feedback loop is in place to provide post-launch refinement and enhancement of the proposition. E. Sales feel increased ownership and commitment to the proposition because their colleagues have been involved and the job made easier by the support provided. The team is best led by the marketer responsible for the proposition, and all those involved should have the success of the proposition as one of their formal objectives. Step 2. Marketing must be present. The more challenging the launch of a new proposition is to the sales channels, the more important it is that marketing remain present and accessible throughout its life cycle. To a marketer, a new proposition launch provides the opportunity for advancement within the company and in his or her career. It must be clear to the marketer that their rewards and position are linked to the success of the proposition and that distractions are to be avoided. Being present means not only being in touch with customers, running focus groups and organising events, but being present for the sales force and channel teams. This includes presenting the proposition in person, attending early sales meetings, and being available to the sales team when they have questions or need support. Where there are large numbers of people involved in the sales effort, then personal accessibility can be difficult. This can be tackled creatively by, for example, running a proposition-focused web portal, open conference discussions, or a blog, picking up and responding to common themes. The more a B2B marketer puts into their relationship with the sales teams, the more support and feedback they will receive. When there is too much of a gap between the marketing and sales functions, for example when launched propositions are handed over to other support teams, some of the energy and insight is lost. The sales team is often the marketer's most important weapon. Too often this is not reflected in where a B2B marketer chooses to spend their time and investment. Step 3. Marketers. Remember the buying cycle. It takes time to sell new ideas. In times of increasing competition, some companies respond with multiple new propositions to defend their markets and reduce the impact of lower sales from their traditional base. This can lead to sales forces being asked to sell new propositions to customers when they are already focused on last quarter's proposition. Building a customer's desire to change the status quo and buy your product takes time, sometimes many months depending on the size, complexity and urgency of the need being addressed. It is often better to launch fewer propositions well, with proper focus and sustained support and resource, than to throw too many poorly supported ideas at the sales force and their customers. Step 4. Don't skip the beta tests and case studies. Salespeople need confidence in a new proposition. If the proposition has a technical element, then they'll want to know and see evidence that it works. Nothing stops a sales team selling more than a fear that their customer will be let down by a poorly tested product. This may appear obvious, but too many times a launch deadline is only met by reducing or ignoring the planned testing time. Case studies are a great support tool for salespeople. They show that someone who has purchased the proposition has found that the proposition met or exceeded their needs. The best case studies are written with the specific intent of moving customers around their buying cycle. So, for example, one case study may heighten the awareness of a problem solved by the proposition, encouraging the customer to recognise the value of acting. A second may demonstrate how the proposition outperformed an alternative solution. Case studies are often not written in advance of launch because of time constraints or the difficulty in finding a test customer. This can be a mistake, as the information and feedback can be invaluable to the sales team. If a customer cannot be found to test the proposition in advance, perhaps by offering a price incentive, the value of the proposition to the customer base may need to be questioned. Case studies do not need to be long or complex. The best ones are written from the client's perspective, making it easy for future customers to assess how the benefits of the purchase outweighed its costs. Proposition launch. Step 5. Develop proposition training and communications that support the sales process. This is perhaps the most critical alignment activity for a new proposition. The aim of any proposition training is to accelerate and improve sales performance. Providing detailed technical and product information is important, but not enough on its own to ensure success. Good proposition training will help the sales teams move their customers confidently through their buying decision. This means providing strategies, support tools, and documentation that positively enhance the selling process. To do this successfully, a marketer needs a deep understanding of how customers buy, and the input of the sales representatives on the proposition team will be critical in developing the appropriate approach. It is important that marketers recognise that in addressing the customer's needs at each stage of the buying cycle, they cannot afford to be superficial. So, for example, If one of the benefits of the proposition is to save the customer money, it must be clear who in the customer's organisation will benefit, how much will be saved, what information needs to be acquired by sales to calculate the ROI, and so on. It's not enough simply to refer to cost savings. Step 6. Deliver the training in a way that enhances sales skills and accelerates sales. Two companies are competing in a similar space with not dissimilar propositions. One provides a web link to detailed and accurate product and technical information and informs the sales teams of their targets. The marketers believe it is the sales team's job to work out how to sell the product, and they move on to their next project. The other company runs face-to-face workshops that explain the value the proposition creates, how the proposition is to be sold, and to whom. Sales skills are honed and experience of selling the proposition gained using scenario-based computer simulations and role-plays. Accounts are targeted, the value of the proposition to each account is assessed, and strategies are discussed for dealing with the competition. Coaching is provided, and the marketing team provides full answers to the sales team's questions. When the salespeople leave, they are linked to a resource centre that provides case studies, ROI tools, FAQs, a blog moderated by the lead marketer on the proposition, and quizzes that check on product knowledge. The marketers actively engage with the sales teams, believing them to be their most valuable resource. If a new proposition launch is important to a company, it should properly plan and invest in the training it gives to the sales team. It is reasonable to assume that, all else being equal, the company that invested in this form of enhanced product training would benefit from shorter sales cycles, higher conversion rates, and higher margins, as the sales teams are equipped to sell on value rather than price. Step 7. Keep the communications alive. Once a new proposition is launched, there is a tendency for some marketers to breathe a sigh of relief and begin to consider their next challenge. This is a mistake. The sales teams will be facing and overcoming unexpected challenges and receiving invaluable feedback on the value of the proposition to the customers. This is the time when good propositions can be refined into great ones. It is also a time when sales teams can share their experience and learn from the successes and failures of their colleagues. Marketers who remain close to their sales force by attending meetings, calling review meetings of their proposition team, and running a proposition forum on a website or blog, capture this information and are in a strong position to manage the life cycle and performance of their proportion. They are also in a position to learn from their successes and failures and analyse the return on investment of their various marketing activities, meaning both they and the business are strongly placed to do even better when the next proposition is launched. If you'd like any further information on Imparter or our content, please feel free to email us at info@imparter.com or call us on +44 207 610 8800.